there. Sorry, I got the background noise on here. Hang on. There we go. All right. Been a very hot day here in Maine. So I don't know. Let me stop share. Don't know what the weather is like in other parts of the country. I know some of the ladies get back from a leadership retreat out in Idaho, actually Montana. So I hope you all had a wonderful time at that. We welcome you back. I was reading a lot of wonderful things, and I just sent Annie a text. We're waiting on our guest speaker, so I just gotta send her another quick text here. Hopefully everything's all right. All right. Ah, here she comes. All right. Well, I just want to say, everybody, it's a very exciting time. If anybody's been following what's going on in the news, it looks like there could be a very good resolution. Looks like we might not be having some sort of prolonged conflict that our country is going to get involved in, which I think is awesome. I think it's going to be great to hopefully have some nice peace and really for us a chance to all go out there and just really go out there and flourish. Have a time for us to go out and bless a lot of people. There's still a massive need for gold and silver. People need this more than ever. And so I just encourage everybody, get your passion, understand what really our purpose is and what we're doing for people and how we're blessing people. And I will tell you that when we can do that, you sleep well at night, knowing the only way that you get ahead was by helping other people to get ahead. And so with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get myself out of the way and I want to bring on a lady who I think is an absolutely amazing leader, and she does an incredible job with this training, and she is just does it by example. She leads by example. When she first got started, she hadn't had a lot of experience in this industry, but she was 100% coachable to all the leaders and just follow their lead, and that's why she was able to go out and get the 100-ounce silver bar and become one of the top leaders in all of 7K. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Ann Mahler. And thank you so much, Annie, for joining us.
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Okay, so I am excited to share with you one of my favorite topics, which is the power of using third party to create a thriving 7K business. And some of you may have heard me talk about this before, and some of you haven't. I do have some new things to say, and it bears repeating because, as Mark and Danielle have taught me, your paycheck in this business will be directly proportional to the number of three-way calls happening in your team, on your team. So I'm going to get into some thoughts about why that is, etc. shortly. But first, I want to start by saying to you that so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Ann Mahler. I'm in Maine. Mark and Danielle are the reasons that I'm here, and my mom. And also, I mean, that's who recruited me, so to speak. And also, my story, if you haven't heard it, is that when I started, which involved me seeing this information in a refurbished barn on the coast of Maine with Mark and Danielle and seeing something that just sparked my interest. I didn't know anything about gold and silver. I didn't even know what fiat currency was. I have literally a learning disability with math. So learning the compensation plan was one of the hardest parts of this, but I was already earning weekly checks way before I figured out the compensation plan because I was coachable and I followed the system that I'm about to share with you, or most of which I'm about to share with you. And so basically this was my answer to a prayer that I didn't know I was looking for. I was applying for restaurant jobs here in Maine after leaving New York City during the lockdowns, and I was tired of running other sort of solopreneur things. And I wasn't getting any restaurant jobs for whatever reason, even though I have actually worked in restaurants before, but God had other plans. And this for me has been such a beautiful in between because I am in business. We are in business for ourselves, but not by ourselves. So you get to have the structure, the support, the community, the team. And that is just such a gift. But what I want to say is if I can do this, anybody can do this. My background, for those of you who don't know me, is that I'm an actor and singer, and I also, one of my primary ways of making money in New York City was editing books and coaching people on writing. So, like, if anybody ever would have predicted that I would be teaching people about gold and silver and teaching other people to teach people about gold and silver, I mean, nobody would have believed that 5 years ago. Okay, so first, what I want to show you is just this funny little example of how, if you don't use the system, you could look trying to do this if you had no background like I did. And even if you do, I'm just going to give this to you to sort of give you an example of how silly we can be, basically. Okay, so hold on one second. This is from well, hopefully you'll know what it is, and I'll give you context if you don't. Okay, so this is, hold on. Okay, I can do this, I promise. Hi, I'm Ann Mahler, and Hi, I'm Ann Mahler. I live in New York City, and no, start over. Okay, so basically, okay, I can do this. If you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna come off like a total spaz, which is why you use third party. Okay, so now I'm going to switch gears to my slides. Okay, so the reason that we do third party is a few things.
Annie muted yourself.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. So the reason we do third party is a few things. One, like I just said, it impacts your bottom line in a positive way. Two, I have not researched this scientifically, but my sense of the psychology of it, I feel this is important. First off, when you're new, even if you're different from me and you're good with math, or you already knew about gold and silver or whatever, you're still going to have some like amped up energy around sharing this, whether it's nervousness or excitement. And just as a side note, if you feel any of those things, just let it be energy in your body, and it'll help you kind of like just accept it and not spin out. But anyway, you're going to have some feelings, right? And so you're quite likely to do a flub like I just did in that video, which if you do, people will still love you and think it's adorable, but you also could end up saying way too much to the people that you're inviting to look at this. And they could very easily go to a place of, I've already heard enough to say no, so I'm saying no. Okay. Or if you are like me and you have a whole different background, your friends and family who've known you for a while are going to find it odd that you are now trying to educate them about a subject that you don't have a background on. Whereas if you bring a third party in and you edify them, which I'm going to get to in a minute, they will feel more comfortable. They actually, in this particular arena, they may feel more comfortable trusting a stranger than you, because you're going to edify that stranger. You're going to set your person, your prospect, or your guest, the person you're sharing with, up to trust the person that you're going to bring in. And lastly, I actually think it's easier for people to feel comfortable asking the hard questions or saying no or voicing quote unquote objections or hesitations to a stranger than it is to like their sibling or their best friend or whatever. They're going to feel like this sort of emotional pressure potentially with you, whereas when you bring in a third party, it's kind of a buffer. So these are all important reasons why we do it. And so I'm going to, when do we use third party? All the time. So the reason for this is what I just said. Here are some times when we can use some specific examples. Sorry, I'm trying to move this little window. Oh, okay. Well, are you guys seeing like a band in front of this, or are you seeing the whole slide? Okay, great.
I'm
Then
seeing
we're
all.
Okay, thank you. So here are the times then that you could use third party. As part of your invitation process, that's the Peak Pass Play thing that Peak Pass Play launch that was taught at the conference. And that would be like you're inviting somebody to look at this, and before they even sit down in front of a video or a presentation, you're getting them on a brief phone call with somebody else so they can hear their story. I'm honestly not going to go into a lot of detail on that approach because I don't personally use it. But other people do, and you can go to their training, or we can get into that in Q&A. But that is a valid approach, okay? Another time is at the end of an initial exposure, an exposure meaning like the first time they've seen this information. The next one is during the follow-up process. And then the next one is in the welcoming a new member, especially if they want to share, okay? So let me see if I can get this to move. Yeah, okay. I already got into why. Okay, so you do want to zip your lip once you've brought your third party in, and I'll get into that a little more later. But here are different ways, different types of third party quote unquote experts, third party stories, third party tools, okay? Third party experts and stories are often in the same person. So for example, I see Danielle here, and she's one of my mentors. If I were bringing her in, depending on who we were sharing with, I might introduce her as a expert who can answer the questions, or as a friend that I want them to hear her story, or a hybrid, right? And then third party tools are the share the videos and the share links is the word I'm looking for, or other, videos and slides and that sort of thing. And also, at least in our team, the FAQ on best training tips is a third-party tool that is worth its weight in gold. I realize that's a cliche here, but it is true. Okay, and you only want to, if you're using a human third party, please only bring us in if your guest shows some degree of interest. If they're a negative Nancy, you're going to say, thank you so much for taking the time to look at this. We're going to move on. And you can, if they're your friend, you can change the subject, or you can just be like, I'll see you later at the barbecue. Thanks for doing this with me, right? If they're not sure, that's okay. But like somebody who's negative, don't bring a third party in to convince them, because that's just not a good idea. Okay, so, whoops, that didn't work. Oh, I just go like this. Okay. So now how we set this up is when you've set up your appointment, this is how I do it, and it's worked pretty well for me. When I set an appointment with my guest, I have somebody on deck, meaning I've said to my friend Sally, it's 8:15 now. So I've said to Sally, we're going to be on a Zoom at 9 o'clock Eastern. I'm going to share with her the 3 videos, or maybe 2 of the videos, whatever, in the present section of the share tools with using screen sharing on a Zoom. And then before I even get on the Zoom with Sally, I've already asked Mark if he could be available around 8:20, 8:30, probably 8:20, to help me as third party. So, and I can tell him that this is a little bit nuanced, but I'm just going to get into some details because I do have more time than I normally do on a shorter training. When you're getting your third party set up, it can be helpful if you have time to give them a little brief info about your prospect. And you can also tell them whether or not you're comfortable with them closing the sale, meaning inviting the person to make a decision. And that's also part of the reason why we do this, is so that you can, if you're a person who doesn't have a sales background, or you just feel uncomfortable with the whole thing of selling, you can use your third party to close your sales, so you don't have to. That can be, and even if you do feel comfortable closing sales, it just, again, as I said before, with the psychology, it tends to work better when somebody else does. But that is very much up to the judgment of your third party in the moment, but you can tell them beforehand, yes or no to closing. Okay. And then also it's really important to, and then let's say I had Mark set up as my third party, he's on deck. And then my friend who's on with me is like super negative. I'd text Mark and I'd say, no need or whatever. I'd be like, no. And then he knows not to come in. Or sometimes you can text them. This is if you're on Zoom. You can say, like, Mark is on deck for me. And then usually I would say, you know, we're 2 minutes from the end of the video. Can you just come in? Or I would say, I would like feel into the person's vibe after they've watched the video. And then I would say, text Mark and say, come on in. I know I'm getting pretty granular here, but the reason I'm doing that is because there is kind of an art to this. And I think sometimes people don't do third party because they don't know how to execute these details. Like they get anxious or confused. Okay. Now this slide says what it says on purpose. Don't do this alone and don't be shy. This is your business. Take it seriously, even if it's a part-time thing. You are not bothering team members by asking us to be your third party. It's number one, it's our job. Number two, we're a team. Mission first, team second, individual third. And number three, it's like you're in the energy of taking this seriously and being committed by speaking up for and stepping up for your needs as a person doing this. So that means if I texted Mark and asked him if he was available at 9 and he wasn't, then I would text 3 more people until I get somebody. Don't give up. It's not personal. We're just busy. Okay. So here I'm going to give you some actual scripts because this is the segue that is super important. And the reason why I never say I'm going to set up a 3-way call with my upline is because because that freaks people out generally, and B, because I can use this kind of verbiage to create a graceful segue. So let's say I already have Mark on deck. And after we've watched the videos on a Zoom, this can be in a one-on-one Zoom or a group Zoom or an in-person. Once the video is over or the presentation is over, I might ask the person, what did you like best? And they will tell me, or I might ask if they have any questions. And if they have a question, when you're new, I'd say you can do this, you can swing this for probably the first 6, maybe even 9 months, depending on how much activity you're doing, and have it be sincere, okay? You would say, that's a great question. I'm going to have my friend so-and-so hop on for a couple minutes to answer that for you because I'm new and I want you to get the right information. So-and-so is brilliant and you'll enjoy hearing his or her story or his or her perspective. Or you could say, so-and-so is hilarious, or so-and-so has a great heart, or they're a big leader in this company, whatever you feel is relevant to the person you're talking to, okay? So you're matching the information you're giving to the person in front of you, okay? And then if they don't have a question, or you just want to bring the third party on without asking them if they have questions, you've asked them what they liked best or what resonated with them in the information they just saw, they're going to tell you what they liked. And you could say something like, I love that aspect too. You know, I'd love you to meet my friend or mentor so-and-so because of this reason. I'm going to see if she or he has a minute to hop on and for briefly and share his or her experience with you. Okay. I'm sort of mixing up elements here because you can sort of position it to your guest that you have the person already, or you can position it that you're trying to get them on the fly. And it doesn't really matter, honestly. That's not that big of a deal, but just so you know, you can word it whichever way you want. And especially if you're with somebody who has a tight schedule or is like very business oriented, it's helpful to position it like this person is really busy and super successful, but I'm going to see if they can join us for just a couple minutes, okay? Because people respond to setting somebody up as an authority in that way. Okay, so this is really in the addressing questions or hesitations realm. Well, part of it is the just meeting them and hearing the story, and then this is also really useful if somebody has a question, or I'm calling it a hesitation instead of an objection, because that's really what it is, in my opinion. Okay, so I already talked about gracefully setting the stage versus scheduling a three-way call, but this also applies in the follow-up process. Okay, so I'm going to get into a couple of examples. So one, if now here's the thing. Generally speaking, an in-person is best, a Zoom is second best, third best is voice memos and texts. Okay, but they're all great. And so, especially if, let's say, you've had a Zoom with somebody and you're in the process of following up with them and they are peppering you with questions and you have no idea how to answer the questions. Or even if you do know how to answer the questions, you want to model for them using third party. So this is something, as I was preparing, I was thinking about the fact that Danielle, who teaches this same concept very well, used to be a teacher, and she always talks about we're modeling for our new person how they can come in and hit the ground running doing this without knowing everything. So they're having the experience already. So this is a way to potentially bring it into a three-way text thread as a last resort, if like everybody's super busy or something. I'd love to get my mentor or friend so-and-so's help answering these questions for you because I'm new, or because they're really smart with this, or because whatever, you come up with a reason that feels applicable. Would it be okay with you if I set up a little three-way text thread so they can help clarify these things for you? I'm literally just giving you examples. You obviously don't use like my exact verbiage. I mean, you can if it feels good to you, but this is just some examples. Okay, so this orchestra is here as a representation of the fact that everybody, this has to do with the matching up, right? So everybody has their own particular personalities, their own particular strengths, their interests, etc. So now I want to be super clear. My experience is there is a degree to which throwing spaghetti against a wall works. It's business, okay? So do not get perfectionistic about this, please. Or I'm going to suggest you not get perfectionistic about it. So for example, let's say I had somebody that I thought might really vibe with Danielle because they also are a teacher, but Danielle isn't available, then I might ask somebody else and I will find a way to make the connection, right? So, but that being said, like, for example, I've noticed some, not all, some men seem to need to hear business information from other men. It's just the reality. Or it's a reality I've observed in some cases. So in those cases, I often will look for a team member who's a man who can come in for that particular time. Or like I said, the teacher thing, or let's say somebody is a person of faith, or somebody's an artist, or whatever it is. You're just matching to the degree you can, okay? So edifying the third party is, and also throwing your guest a bone too. This I learned from Mark because I noticed over time of bringing him in as third party a lot, he actually almost always edified me back. And when I say edify, you're basically, as I said, you're setting up the person as somebody who's trustworthy. So it's sort of like you're at a part, like it's like sometimes in my past iterations of my life, still the same lifetime, but other stages of my life, you know, sometimes I've been at a party with famous people, right? And the person who has invited me often is really good at introducing me to new people and saying, oh, Anne is this, and so and so and so and so. And then they introduce me to this person, and they tell me something positive about that person. And it makes everybody feel important and seen and welcomed. So we like to do the same thing here. So when your third party comes in, you may have given a little context already, right? Because you've said, I'm going to ask so-and-so to come in for this reason. But then once they come in, you can say maybe one, I will be the first to admit I sometimes overdo the edification. So sorry to my third parties, but you could say one or maybe two more things about why they're so fabulous once they're in the room. It's also, FYI, it doesn't matter how much you say before they come in the room or once they're in the room. Some people, it might make them feel a little bashful if you like blow sparkles up their skirt, so to speak, a lot once they're in the room, but they'll get over it because everybody here is fabulous and deserves to be praised, right? But basically you are giving, so another example, I've given some more sort of touchy-feely examples, but another example would be you've got somebody who's more of a bare bones driven business person. So you would have somebody come in and you'd say, this person is one of the top earners in the company or something like that, right? Okay, and then another great thing to say that Mark and Danielle say a lot is this person is an amazing leader, something like that. Okay, so then throwing your guest a bone also means, and this part you should do once your third party's on, you basically say something positive about your guest too. So they feel seen and special, and also it gives your third party additional context. Hopefully you've given them some context beforehand, but if not, it's okay. They can usually go on the fly if necessary. Okay, how to do a three-way phone call. I'm going to get into this very briefly. Danielle has an amazing training on this in the Success Academy archives. I think, I don't know if it's still there. It's just an audio and the video is black and purple. So I'm just going to briefly, the principles are the same, but essentially instead of like bringing the person into the Zoom, what you're going to do is you're going to, tell the person you're bringing your third party on, then you're going to mute them, then you're going to add a call. You're going to add a call. Then when you get your third party, your prospect is still like on hold. This is a good moment to give your third party brief context if you haven't already. Then you merge the calls and then you introduce them and do the edification. And then you mute, which is also a good thing to do on Zoom. And if you really have trouble, sit on your hands, okay? And just to be really clear, the zipping your lip as the inviter is not because we as third parties actually need to do all the time. It's not for our egos. It's because when you bring in your third party, generally speaking, your guest has never met that person before. And if you start interrupting them, then their trust in that person starts to go down because they're going, oh, that person, Anne said that person was brilliant, but now she's having to correct them. So maybe these people don't know what they're doing, right? And that can be unconscious, right? So, okay, so we did that. And then what if I'm flying solo? So let's say I tried 6 people and nobody's available for third party. By the way, I usually try even more than that if I really want. I stop at nothing to get my needs met for third party, and I suggest you do the same. That being said, if, I don't know, everybody's at the company getaway or something, whatever, you can use the FAQ on besttrainingtips.com. This is amazing. You can also use this anyway in your follow-up. Like, let's say you're texting with somebody and they ask a question, you can send them one of these videos, or even if they don't ask a question, you can send them one of these videos related to something you think would be of interest to them. And also, by the way, even outside of the prospecting process, if you're new, or even if you're not new and you haven't gone through these, I really recommend going through them because it's just a really an amazing resource. Okay, so that's that. So this is, I shouldn't say so that's that. This is sort of the end, but not quite. Almost. It's almost the end. Okay, so I just want to check my notes because I feel like I missed one or two things. Oh, yes. So I'm going to brag on our team for a second. Part of the reason we train on this is because our team has some of the top leaders in the entire company, actually a large percentage. And I happen to know that most of the other top leaders in the company who are not on our team also use third party pretty regularly. So just know it works. That's why we use it. Okay. So now I'm going to just briefly, I am going to open it up for Q&A here in just a second, but first I want to pivot to, whoops, uh-oh, where is my cursor? Okay. Oh, no, I'm not. I can't get my cursor to stop sharing. There we go. Okay. I wanted to show you something. So also, now there are times when I'm finding something at the same time as I'm talking to you. There are times when people like your personal friends or family members or whatever who are being invited to look at this, they might genuinely want your personal opinion or your personal take. And so that's another reason why, just an FYI, when you invite somebody to look at the information, before you show them a presentation, or if you're like, let's say you're doing a launch party and you have a third party doing the presentation or even sharing the video, showing the videos, you can still say like a little bit about why you're so excited or what made this interesting to you. Like you can still be, you don't have to be a robot, right? But just keep it brief because it's really about it's basically about being Vanna White, essentially. Okay. So I did want to close briefly with this little piece here, which is because we're a team, right? And I say this pretty much every time I train on this topic, but it's really important. It's not about you. It's about giving your guest the best possible exposure to this information they can have, which generally has a fair amount of objectivity and neutrality to it, and shows them that this is bigger than just you. Oh, by the way, that's also the welcome call. Like somebody, let's pretend you didn't use third party anywhere in the process, which I wouldn't recommend, but let's say it happened by accident. You could have a three-way welcome call. So you could just be like, hey, let's hop on a call to, get you started, and you could patch in somebody on a Zoom or a phone call for them to get a sense that there's more people here. Okay. So now I'm going to just briefly close with this piece. I don't know if you know the story of the boys in the boat, but it's very near and dear to my heart because my dad was a rower. And also it's just an amazing story. But basically the boys in the boat was a crew team, a US crew team that kind of came from, they were anomalies in the crew world. Like they didn't come from money. They were kind of like, they were not predicted to win this thing. And they actually won the Olympics in 1936 in Germany. And this is a little tiny piece from the documentary that I think really highlights part of the reason why we do third party and the psychology that I recommend having. Whoops, we have way too many things going on here. Hold on a second. Here we go.
Every one of them also had a measure of humility. And that humility was the gateway through which they were able to approach one another and start building the bonds of trust that really made them into the great crew that they became.
Okay, so we can be like that boat, all rowing in the same direction, and it's so beautiful. Okay, so it's 8:34. I went a little beyond where I wanted to go time-wise, but we still have a little time for questions, I think, like 5 or 10 minutes. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to help. And thank you so much for, oh, I hope those frogs aren't too loud. The back door is open and I have a lot of frogs in the backyard. They're also a team.
Love the frog symphony.
Yeah.
We can't hear it anyway.
Okay. Yeah. So,
I'll just say, Annie, that was fabulous. You are such a leader. That was amazing.
oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're amazing at trainings.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. I'm gonna see if there's
I just
Okay.
raised my hand, Annie, just to say is the ditto, ditto, ditto. What you're seeing is poised elegance because of how many times she's done exactly what she just trained you on. She didn't need a note. She didn't need anything because she's done it so many times. She's so gracious in that delivery. And she comes across just that way with her folks, and she's so sincere about, you know, finding that connection that takes it even deeper. So she just pays attention, and you did a beautiful job, Annie. I'm inspired by you, and I love her relentlessness to get a third party. I mean, she is that way, and she doesn't take offense. Truly,
no.
I mean, but just understand that's a huge piece. No one is not offending you, or it's not because, you know, they can't get you. She just keeps going until she finds somebody. And that's why she's so successful. So I hope you got that as a takeaway. Just do your thing and know what you're doing is valuable. And as soon as somebody's free, they're going to get to you. And that's what she does. She just stays after it. And she has amazing introductions and amazing folks. And that's the kind of person that Annie attracts to her team. But you saw it here. And this is how she opens the door. And this is how she welcomes someone. So great job, Annie. You were amazing today, as always.
Oh, thank you,
Love you.
Kathy.
Yes.
That's very touching. I'm honored. Thank you.
Love you. Thank you.
Love you. Yeah, it's kind of like you're inviting somebody to a really wonderful party and not just like a small talk cocktail hour. Like, you know, you're giving them a gift. Nobody has a question? That's amazing.
I will say this too, Annie, I gotta jump in.
Yeah.
Everybody, that was a master class on how to go about sharing this with everybody. I mean, seriously, that covered everything. If you wanted to show somebody the system, that training right there was it. So I want you to mark that on the Best Training Tips website. That's going to be one you're going to want to use. So again, Annie, outstanding job, and I'll step aside for Jan's question.
Thanks, Mark. Super appreciate it. Hi, Jan.
Hi, Anne. Not really, well, kind of a question, but I'm calling out my friend Nicole, who's on this call. She just led her first overview last week. She's 9 weeks new to 7K. And I just want you to share like 3 of your golden nuggets for her next overview, which is happening on Wednesday.
Sure, that's a great question. Congratulations, Nicole.
Yes.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay, so are you doing the overview yourself, Nicole, or somebody else's?
I am.
Okay. First, breathe. And if you feel nervous, pause and breathe again. Okay.
Just even the French in me speaks too fast, so I know I
Yes.
definitely have to
Yes.
slow down.
Breathe. Yes. 2, less is more, which I did not model very well today, but if you give them the basics, you're giving them enough to start with. And 3, there's no such thing as a stupid question from them or from you. So if they ask you a question and you don't know the answer, well, first off, even if you do know the answer, hopefully you have Jan in there as a third party anyway, because it works better than answering the questions. But if you're ever in a situation where somebody, like sometimes people get really excited and interrupt and ask a question in the middle of the overview. First off, you can say we'll get to Q&A at the end, but also if you don't know the answer to something, you can just say, that's a great question, and I'm going to have to find out for you and get back to you. It's so much better than pretending you know the answer to something. And people really appreciate and feel safer with that kind of honesty.
Absolutely. The last week I had Jen and Laura on, and I was both like, they both took over some of the questions, and I was like, oh, phew.
Yeah.
You know,
Phew.
IRA Roths here in Canada.
yeah.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's you guys don't even speak that language. Yeah, and somebody actually, speaking of which, somebody came in from Canada and asked me a question about some sort of account in Canada, and I was like, so I texted Tony. I said, what is that? You know, so I think I'm gonna do a bonus nugget, which is I sort of alluded to this at the beginning, but I think that sometimes the reason people overthink many aspects of this or get in their own way or stall out or whatever is because of the nervousness or like the fear of rejection or the fear that somebody's gonna, there are a whole bunch of mindset things that we do not have time to get into tonight. But what I would love to invite you to do is to let whatever emotion you're feeling just be energy in your body. Because that's actually, like, on a scientific level, that's what it is. Yeah. So I don't mean to project or assume that you're going to be nervous, but I was, and I still
Oh,
am.
no.
I'm still nervous.
I'm nervous. Yeah. It's right before. As soon as I seem to get into it, then I seem to be better. But like the whole day before, I can be like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Have some dance breaks throughout the day.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Okay.
We talked about that
Take
on
it
our
out.
team call today. We were like, Nicole needs to like dance it out.
Yeah. Jump your jumpies out, as we say to the little ones.
And this is exactly the topic that we talked about this morning of me needing help with. So you hit the nail on the head. Perfect.
Oh, good.
Thank you so much, Anne.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's really exciting. Congratulations. Anybody else have a question or something else? Anything else? Okay, I'm going to see if there's anything else that wants to come through from my end while you guys are thinking. So I know Mark sort of set this up at the beginning, but you know, this is a really powerful thing to share with people. And I'm sort of involved in a few different types of businesses and worlds, and sort of have been my whole life for various reasons. And I'm noticing one of the things that really distinguishes this for me these days, amidst all of the noise, because, you know, we've got the AI stuff. I'm not going to pontificate about AI, but it's like moving really fast and people have feelings about it. Then like some industries are falling apart, other industries, like most people are earning nothing, and then a few people are earning like so much money, it's ridiculous. And I have to say, one of the things I really love about 7K, it's so grounded and it's so relatable, and it's for everybody. It's for everybody. So that just is important to know and remember that we're messengers of a really important gift. So yeah. Okay. I think that's all I got. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here.
Awesome stuff, Annie. Thank you so much. And everybody, if you can open up and unmute your lines and give Annie the love, that was absolutely outstanding. And again, one of the best, I think, on the subject matter out there. Thank you.
Great job, Annie.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Annie.
Anne.
Annie, that was wonderful. Love you. That was
Gracias a
so
ti.
good.
Gracias.
Thank you, Annie.
Top notch, thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Love you too.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thanks, Mark and Danielle.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, Daniel. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Everybody have a wonderful night. And corporate Zoom
too.
coming up in 45 minutes, or WebEx, I should say. Thank you again, Annie, for an outstanding training. Everybody have a wonderful night.
Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Danielle.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.